I probably out the door everything. Taxes, tags, and everything. Less than $1,500. You can get a bike that you and your buddies could go take road trips on. Test driving everything and anything with two wheels to help you find your next bike. I'm Sean Kerr, and this is SRK Cycles. What's up, guys? Sean here from SRKCycles.com, and we have a 1982 Yamaha 650 Maxim. Do not call this a Maxima. Very impressed with this bike. This bike has brand new Continentals, Conti Tours on it, and it runs extremely well. It looks awesome. It does have a little leak right here on the valve cover, which is actually really easy to get to. One bolt pops the tank off, and then that's all accessible. You just need a new gasket or use some like RVT to put that on there. I'm not gonna do it because I don't care. We just got done. We bought this bike. We put new plugs in it, put fresh fuel in it. The brakes were a little bit seized up on the front, but you just need to work a little bit. So this is it's kind of the project. You know, it might need a little bit of love, but check this out. What? It just fires right up. Carbs are tuned nice and well. Let's go take it for a spin. Watch this. I mean, this thing runs great, and the best thing about it is the brand new tires. Because I know when you get an older bike like this, you don't spend too much money on it, but the last thing you want to do is spend, you know, $300 in new tires and getting a mountain balance and all this stuff. With this bike, it's already done. Oh, and if I didn't, the other side kind of has like a little dent right here. It's missing the emblem, and the paint could be a little cleaned up. But for a super cheap bike, I think we're gonna sell it for $1,200. For a $1,200 bike, it's really hard to beat. And just how well it runs. Yeah, baby! So we actually just bought this bike Monday. We just bought the bike Monday, and it was not running, but it had ran about a year ago. It had run last season. The front brake was pretty seized up. I took that apart. I took the pads out. I squeezed the brakes, pushed it back in, squeezed the brakes, pushed it back in, and now it's actually working pretty good. I'm sure someone who has a better idea of what they're doing could just do a little better job of cleaning that up, make it work at 100%, but now it's working like 90%, and it's not seizing up, so I'm pretty happy. I think these are some of the best bikes. I think these are some of the best bikes to buy if you're a new rider, and it really gives people no excuse not to be riding. People are like, oh, I wish I could ride a bike, but I don't want to. You know, it's about the money. You know what? When you're spending $700, $800, $900, you know, $1,200, we're selling this bike for $1,200. When you're spending not that much money for a bike, you have no excuse. Insurance is cheap. You probably spend a lot of, you know, half of that money just on gear. We paid $700 for this bike, and I would encourage all you guys. We paid $700 for it. We spent $10 putting spark plugs in it. I would encourage all you guys that if you can, ooh, that guy's just dragging the fuel pump nozzle. That ain't good. If you can, find a bike like this to buy for dirt cheap. You know, look at that, dragging the fuel. Find something that wasn't been working, that's been sitting for a little while. Spend a little time, put some elbow grease in it, put some sweat equity, put some sweat equity in the bike, and get yourself a really good bike for really cheap. Or if that's not really your thing and you want to start with a project that's running at its current time, you know, eliminate some of those unknowns, hey, buy it from us. Most dealerships would never sell a bike this old. I'm pumped about how good this thing runs. Let's jump on the highway. Let's show the world that this bike is sweet. It says I'm doing 70. I don't know if that's true, but it is cruising smooth. Now we're just doing the speed limit. So for less than I probably out the door everything, taxes, tags, and everything, less than $1,500. You can get a bike that you and your buddies could go take road trips on. Hey man, we're all taking, and honestly, this is more fun. I remember taking we took a big trip. We went to Boston. We all had cheap bikes, and you spend a couple days, a couple weekends before making sure the bikes run, making sure the lights work, you know, I mean, just figuring stuff out. We're looking at manuals, changing the oil, really learning how motorcycles work and learning where they came from. And then when you get your next bike, you have a better understanding of what it is, learning how the carburetors work, and then sometimes learning what you're good at and what you're not good at. If the carbs needed anything more than just the float bowls drained and cleaned, and if it needed anything more than that, honestly, I'm not good at it. That's not really my thing. That's not what I do well. So I would just take it to a shop. But you might learn that, hey, I could sync these carbs, I can tune this thing, and you might be really good at it. Now obviously new bikes are all fuel injected, so you don't need to do that stuff. But it's still fun. Now this is an inline 4-cylinder. It's very smooth power, and it is rocking 4 individual carbs. So if it sits for a while, sometimes the carbs need to be synced. If you're keeping it running, you know, carbs like this, they probably don't need to be synced, you know, more than every 5 years. And it's not that big of a deal. You find an old mechanic that knows how to do it. Probably costs you takes them about an hour to do it. Probably costs you about $100. But this thing runs perfect. This thing fired up after not running for at least a year, maybe less than a year, and it fired up very quickly. We changed the plugs, and we changed the fuel, and we put it on. We put it on choke to fire it up, and within a minute we had it off of choke and it was idling perfectly. That's a good sign that your carbs are tuned and synced properly. There's tons of parts for bikes like this. They made the Maxim for a long time. They also have a Maxim 1100. I think they have they got a smaller Maxim, like a 500 something Maxim. The turn signals work, the gauges work. It's got 28,000 miles. Start button works. It's just a great bike. This is a good. And the best thing about it is, you can learn how to ride. Not only can you learn how to ride, all your friends will learn how to ride. Because no one cares. You drop the bike, pick it back up. Drop my bike, man, pick it up. No one cares about this bike. It just runs good. And then whenever it's time to move on, one of your buddies buys it off of you. He pays what you paid for it because he knows it's a good bike and he knows that's cheap. And then you guys step up to something different. The reason I would go out of my way to tell people, hey, if you don't want to buy from us, give you the tools to find one yourself, which actually, if you go to the Bikes and Beards channel, we released a video of buying this bike and showing you how to do it, how you can do it yourself. And the only reason I would do that is because I want to see more people ride. I want to see more people on bikes. These are gateway bikes. You know, I'm very annoyed about these Harley only riders who it's all about, it's Harley or die, Harley or die. And what they don't realize is what they're doing is they're making this dichotomy between Harley and everything else, and they're making people choose a side. And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not, all right, if you're gonna be like that, I love Yamaha, screw Harley, I love Honda, screw Harley. And then you kind of make that dichotomy, and people, you're setting up walls between people. And what Harley riders and what those diehard Harley riders don't understand is bikes like these are gateway bikes. People love them. They learn how to ride. They fall in love with riding. And then, yeah, eventually you're going to buy a Harley at some time in your lifetime. Or you would have. If all you ever knew about Harley guys was people be like, hey man, that's a great bike. You had some Harley guy come up with a real nice Harley, and he comes up and he's like, hey man, that's a great bike. I had a Yamaha Maxim when I was a kid. Those things are awesome. And he wasn't like, hey, that's not even a bike. That's not even a motorcycle. Get a Harley, you stupid kid. You know, if people were more like the first one, we'd be like, hey, that guy was really cool. He's really nice. You know, maybe, and then maybe someday you'll be like, when a Harley comes out with something you like, you know, you'd be like, hey, maybe I will get a Harley. So that's my rant about that. Guys, this bike is awesome. Just from riding it today, it's very reliable. It fires up very good. I would feel comfortable taking this bike pretty much anywhere. I'd probably look over it a little bit closer. And that wraps it up. Guys, we will see you later. Remember, oh yeah, check it out. I'm rocking the M1 Moto gloves. The M1 Moto gloves lined with Kevlar, and these things are for sale. Look at the link below, either on bikesandbeardsgear.com or m1motogear.com. These are the baddest gloves out there. We have 2 different styles, and these are the originals. Guys, we will see you guys later. Remember, it's not what you're riding, but where you going.